The Ukrainian army's situation continues to deteriorate rapidly in all key directions of the front. Every day, war correspondents record the retreat of Ukrainian troops, even from fairly large settlements. And today was no exception either. So, a few hours ago, war correspondents reported that the Ukrainian army had fled the settlement of Zelyanoy, to the northwest of the city of Huliapol, in the Zaporizhia region. Reports indicate that the settlement of Zelyanoy came under the Russian army's control on the morning of January 9th. Furthermore, it is reliably known that in addition to Zelyanoy, Russian soldiers have also established full control over all defensive positions of the Ukrainian troops in this area. In total, over the past 24 hours, Ukraine has lost more than 10 square kilometers of territory in this sector of the front. According to the Russian military, the liberation of Zelyanoy is of great operational importance. They claim that this not only allowed the Russian army to significantly increase its bridgehead for a further offensive to the west, but also completely secured the city of Huliapol from possible enemy counterattacks and sabotage operations. Meanwhile, representatives of the Kiev regime and their so-called Western allies continue to remain in a state of shock after yesterday's massive Russian missile strike on Ukraine. In particular, they are shocked by the fact that during this missile strike, the latest Russian ballistic hypersonic missile ORESHNIK wiped out a strategically important facility right in NATO's backyard. By the way, a few hours ago, insiders in Kiev confirmed that Volodymyr Zelensky, being in his bunker, began calling all his so-called European allies, and complaining that during the missile attack on Lviv, ORESHNIK struck an underground gas storage facility, which was considered the largest in Europe. Furthermore, this bearded dwarf also complained that as a result of this missile strike, the underground storage facility was critically damaged, as a result of which Ukraine lost 50% of its gas reserves. In addition, as it turned out, the ORESHNIK strike also deprived Moldova and the EU countries of half of their gas reserves. At the same time, insiders confirmed that Zelensky personally ordered all Ukrainian officials not to comment on the ORESHNIK strike on Lviv. Nevertheless, on the morning of January 10th, the security service of Ukraine demonstrated the fragments of a rocket that allegedly belonged to ORESHNIK. According to the security service of Ukraine, these rocket fragments were found in the Styry district of the Lviv region. By the way, Europe's largest underground gas storage facility is located in the Styry district. Furthermore, on January 10th, the Russian military explained how ORESHNIK, with conventional warheads, managed to destroy Ukraine's gas reserves, located at a depth of 400 meters. As it turned out, ORESHNIK's warheads hit the ground infrastructure of this gas storage facility at a speed of 13,000 kilometers per hour. As a result, the main wellbore, located at a depth of 40-50 meters, received critical damage. It was this factor that became crucial in the destruction of Ukrainian gas reserves. The fact is that damage to the main wellbore provoked spontaneous weathering of the gas, located at a depth of 400 meters. As a result, within a few hours, Ukraine, Moldova, and the EU countries lost tens of millions of cubic meters of gas. Furthermore, the Russian military department confirmed that on the territory of this gas storage facility, ORESHNIK also wiped out 3 American Patriot air defense systems and several high-ranking NATO officers. It is reported that during this missile attack, the American radars were silent. All this once again proved that ORESHNIK is absolutely invulnerable, even against the most modern air defense systems. By the way, the Ukrainian TG channels admitted that the consequences of the ORESHNIK strike turned out to be so devastating that the emergency services of Ukraine began checking for radiation at the site of the missile strike. However, checking the radiation level showed that everything is fine. The air and soil are absolutely clean.
Meanwhile, the American newspaper The New York Times stated that the successful use of the latest ORESHNIK missile, right at the NATO border, was an alarming signal not only for Ukraine, but also for its Western allies.
The New York Times claims that with these actions, Russia has made it clear that, if necessary, Moscow can expand the geography of ORESHNIK strikes. At the same time, the Americans admitted that ORESHNIK can fly to the NATO headquarters in Brussels in just 10 minutes. Well, my friends, it seems that the ORESHNIK strike on Lviv had a sobering effect not only on Europe but also on the United States. The fact is that immediately after Russia used ORESHNIK for the second time, Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni declared it is time for Europe to start a dialogue with Russia. Simultaneously, she emphasized that this dialogue with Russia should be conducted not by individual European nations, but through a unified approach by the European Union. It is also worth noting the words of the Deputy Prime Minister of Italy, Matteo Salvini. In particular, he called on Europe to start forming a friendship with Russia as soon as possible. At the same time, he reminded the Europeans that all wars against Russia have always ended badly for Europe itself. Moreover, the ORESHNIK strike also impressed our orange old man in the White House. Trump suddenly and abruptly changed his aggressive rhetoric towards Russia. Donald Trump has made it clear that he has a good, honest, and open relationship with Putin, and that he is not going to impose new sanctions against Moscow. Furthermore, Donald Trump also ordered the release of all Russian citizens who were on board the oil tanker Mariner. At the same time, the remaining crew members, citizens of Ukraine and Georgia, were sent to prison. In addition, the Trump administration admitted that the oil tanker Mariner did not belong to Russia, and that the ship's captain, a Georgian citizen, used the Russian flag only to escape with the sanctioned oil. Thus, as you can see, Donald Trump, even despite his God complex, refuses to spoil relations with Russia and escalate tensions. Against this backdrop, I hope that Vladimir Putin will use ORESHNIK more often in the Special Military Operation Zone. The fact is that this unique missile has already proven its effectiveness not only on the battlefield, but also in the geopolitical arena.